The rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Ashford Tower penthouse, as Sophia Chen pressed her palm against her swollen belly, watching her husband Marcus laugh with another woman across the marble floor. 6 months pregnant, and he didn't even glance her way anymore. Marcus Ashford, billionaire tech mogul, stood with his arm draped around Vivienne Laurent, a socialite half his age. The champagne in their glasses caught the city lights filtering through the storm. If you're enjoying this story of revenge and redemption, hit that subscribe button and join our family of over 10,000 subscribers who crave dramatic, real-life inspired tales. We post 3 times a week, and trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. Now let's continue. Sophia's phone buzzed in her pocket, but she ignored it. She had learned to ignore a lot of things over the past 3 years of marriage. The late nights, the lipstick stains, the way Marcus flinched when she touched him, the whispered phone calls he took in the other room, the credit card statements showing purchases at jewelry stores she never visited. Tonight was different, though. Tonight was their anniversary dinner, and Vivienne wasn't supposed to be here. Sophia had spent the afternoon preparing herself, choosing the emerald green dress Marcus once said made her eyes sparkle, styling her hair the way he used to love. She had made reservations at the restaurant where he proposed, thinking maybe, just maybe, the reminder of better times would break through the ice that had formed between them. Instead, she had arrived home to find candles lit and champagne flowing, but not for her. For Vivienne. Marcus finally noticed Sophia standing by the window. His expression shifted from amusement to cold irritation, the kind of look someone gives an unwanted interruption. "Still here?" he asked, not bothering to lower his voice. "I thought you'd have the decency to leave by now." Sophia's throat tightened. Her hands instinctively moved to protect her belly. "It's our anniversary, Marcus. 3 years today." Vivienne giggled, a sound like breaking glass. She stepped forward, her stiletto heels clicking against the imported Italian tile with deliberate precision. Each step was calculated, predatory. "Oh, sweetie, didn't he tell you? Anniversaries are for people who actually love each other. What you two have is more like a business arrangement that's outlived its usefulness." The words struck like a physical blow. But Sophia stood her ground. She had grown up in foster care, bouncing between 7 different homes before she turned 18. She had fought her way through community college while working 3 jobs. She had built herself from nothing, learning early that the world didn't hand out kindness to girls with no family and no money. She wouldn't crumble now, not in front of them. "Marcus, we need to talk," Sophia said quietly, forcing her voice to remain steady. "About the baby, about us, about what's happening here." Marcus drained his champagne and set the glass down with a sharp clink that echoed through the cavernous space. He loosened his tie, a gesture Sophia recognized. He did it when he was about to say something cruel, as if physical comfort made emotional brutality easier. "There is no us, Sophia. There never really was. You were convenient, a good look for the company, the self-made girl from nowhere who caught the billionaire's eye. Rags to riches. America loves that story. My board loved it. My investors ate it up. Great PR for a company trying to seem more accessible, more human." Each word was a knife, precisely placed to inflict maximum damage. Sophia felt her composure beginning to crack, her vision blurred with tears she refused to let fall. "I loved you," she whispered. "I gave up everything for you, my scholarship to medical school, my dreams, my independence." Marcus laughed, the sound hollow and sharp. "You gave up a free ride to some third-tier medical program. Please, I gave you a lifestyle you could never have achieved on your own. Designer clothes, this penthouse, entrance to society. You should be thanking me." Vivienne sauntered closer, her perfume overwhelming, expensive and cloying. She had the confidence of someone who had never known rejection, never experienced want, never understood what it meant to fight for every scrap of dignity. "You know what your problem is?" Vivienne said, examining her perfect manicure. "You actually believed in fairy tales. A foster kid with no pedigree marrying into the Ashford fortune? Please, you were always temporary. A phase. Marcus needed someone relatable for the IPO, someone to soften his image. Now that the company's established, you're obsolete." Sophia's hands trembled. The baby kicked hard against her ribs, as if protesting on her behalf. I'm carrying your child, Marcus, your son. Doesn't that mean anything to you? Doesn't he deserve a father who at least pretends to care? Marcus's laugh was hollow, cruel. Is it, though? Really mine? You know how these things go. Gold diggers will do anything for a payday. Probably got yourself pregnant deliberately. Thought it would lock me down. Maybe it's not even mine. Who knows what you did while I was traveling for business? The accusation hung in the air like poison. Sophia felt something inside her break, not with sadness, but with a cold, crystalline anger she had never experienced before. This was beyond humiliation. This was character assassination, the deliberate destruction of her integrity. How dare you, she whispered, her voice deadly quiet. I have been faithful to you every single day of this marriage. I have sacrificed everything, turned myself inside out trying to be who you wanted, and you stand there and question my child's paternity. Your son's paternity? Vivian stepped between them, literally stepping on Sophia's foot with her sharp heel, the pressure deliberate and painful. Sophia stumbled backward, her hip hitting the edge of a marble side table. Pain shot through her side and she gasped, one hand flying to her belly protectively. Oops, Vivian said, her smile vicious and satisfied. You should be more careful. In your condition, pregnant women are so clumsy. All those hormones, that extra weight throwing off your balance. It would be such a shame if something happened to that baby. The threat was clear, unsubtle. Marcus didn't move to help. He simply watched, his face carved from ice, as if observing an experiment rather than his wife's suffering. Sophia steadied herself against the table, breathing through the pain. The baby kicked again, harder this time, as if sensing her distress. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands, ready to call for a car, ready to leave this nightmare behind forever. She would go to hotel, figure things out tomorrow, when she could think clearly without their cruelty poisoning the air she breathed. That's when the main elevator chimed. The penthouse had private elevator access, programmed with biometric security. Only family had the codes, only people Marcus personally authorized. Sophia froze. She hadn't given anyone access. Marcus looked equally confused, his arrogance briefly replaced by uncertainty. The elevator doors slid open with a soft whisper. 3 men stepped out, and the air in the room changed instantly, charged with a new energy that made everything that came before seem trivial. They wore tailored suits that probably cost more than most people's cars. Italian wool, hand-stitched, fitted to perfection. The first man was tall with silver-streaked dark hair, his presence commanding immediate attention. He moved with the confidence of someone who owned every room he entered. The second was younger, maybe 35, with sharp features and eyes that missed nothing, cataloging details with predatory precision. The third was built like he spent his mornings breaking boards with his bare hands. Though his suit fit him perfectly, expensive fabric stretched over powerful shoulders. All 3 fixed their gazes on Sophia with an intensity that made everyone else in the room seem to fade into the background, like supporting actors suddenly realizing the real stars had arrived. Sophia, the first man said, his voice deep and controlled, carrying an authority that needed no volume to command respect. We need to talk. Sophia felt the world tilt. She knew that voice. She had heard it once before, years ago, in a memory she had buried so deep she sometimes wondered if she'd imagined it. A teenage boy's voice, breaking with emotion, promising a crying baby that he would find her again someday. That voice, aged but unmistakable. Who the hell are you? Marcus demanded, finally finding his voice, stepping forward with the bluster of a man used to being the most important person present. How did you get up here? I'm calling security. The second man smiled, but there was no warmth in it. It was the smile of a shark spotting blood in the water. We own the building, Mr. Ashford, all 68 floors. We own 40% of your company too, though I don't think you've realized that yet. The shell corporations made it difficult to trace. That was intentional. We've been very careful about remaining invisible while we accumulated our position. Marcus's face went pale. That's impossible. I would know. My CFO would have flagged it. Would he? The third man asked, cracking his knuckles methodically. Your CFO works for us now? Has for 6 months. The salary we offered was significantly better than yours, and he got tired of watching you run the company into the ground with your ego and incompetence. We've spent 3 years watching you destroy our sister, the second man continued. We gave you a chance to be worthy of her. We hoped you would prove us wrong, that our initial concerns were unfounded. You failed spectacularly. Tonight was simply the culmination of a long pattern of abuse and disrespect. Sophia's mind raced. Sister. They had said sister. Her heart pounded so hard she thought it might burst through her chest. The first man stepped forward, ignoring Marcus and Vivienne completely, as if they were furniture of no consequence. He spoke directly to Sophia, his voice gentling in a way that suggested deep emotion held carefully in check. My name is Alexander Chen. These are our brothers, Daniel and James. We've been looking for you for 28 years, Sophia. Since the night our parents died in that car crash on Highway 94 and you were taken by social services. We were teenagers, deemed too young and unstable to care for a baby. I was 16, Daniel was 14, James was 12. They split us all up, sent us to different states, different systems. They said we were too traumatized to make good decisions, that we needed separate therapeutic environments. It took us 15 years to find each other again, and another 10 to find you. Sophia couldn't breathe. The room spun. Her knees buckled slightly, and Alexander was there instantly, his hand steady on her elbow, guiding her to the sofa with surprising gentleness for such an imposing man. That's not possible, she whispered. I was told I had no family. No one. The social worker said I was abandoned, that I was lucky to be in the system at all. You were told wrong, Daniel said, his voice gentle despite his sharp appearance. His eyes held a fury that was clearly directed at the system, not at her. They said you'd be better off adopted, that we were too damaged to raise a child. They said teenagers in grief couldn't provide stability. But we never stopped looking. It became the defining mission of our lives, James added, his voice thick with emotion. When we finally found you 3 years ago, you had just married him. He gestured dismissively at Marcus. We wanted to approach you immediately. We had waited so long, dreamed of this reunion. But we hired investigators first, ran background checks on your husband. What we found made us decide to wait, to watch. We wanted to give him a chance to prove he was worthy of you, to treat you right. We installed security throughout this building, Daniel continued. Cameras everywhere except your bedroom and bathroom, places where you deserved absolute privacy. We've watched everything else. Every dinner party where he ignored you. Every charity event where he introduced you as an afterthought. Every night he came home late, smelling of another woman's perfume. Alexander's jaw tightened, a muscle jumping beneath his skin. We watched him cheat. We documented 17 separate affairs over 3 years. We watched him belittle you in front of his colleagues. We watched you sacrifice your dreams of medical school to support his company launch. We watched you pour your trust fund inheritance, every penny your foster parents left you, into his failing business. And tonight, we watched enough. Sophia felt tears streaming down her face, but she wasn't sure if they were from grief or overwhelming relief. Her entire understanding of herself, her history, her identity, was reshaping in real time. You're really my brothers? I have brothers? I'm not alone? You have 3 brothers who would burn the world down for you, Alexander said softly, kneeling so he was eye level with her. And we're about to start with him. He turned to Marcus, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop 20 degrees. The man who moments ago had been casual and cruel now looked small, diminished by the force of Alexander's presence. Marcus Ashford, your company is bleeding money. That merger with Tecton Industries you've been counting on to save you? We killed it this afternoon. Our lawyers found a clause in the agreement that allowed us to void the deal. Those investors who promised you $40 million, they work for us. They've been feeding us information about your desperate financial situation for months. That board meeting scheduled for Monday morning? We control 6 of the 9 votes. You're done. Marcus's face went from pale to red, veins standing out on his forehead. You can't do this. I'll sue. I'll fight this. I have lawyers. With what money? Daniel asked, pulling out his phone and showing Marcus the screen. Your accounts were frozen 20 minutes ago by federal order. Turns out there are some very interesting financial irregularities in your books. The SEC is very interested in talking to you about insider trading, specifically that pharmaceutical stock you shorted 3 days before the FDA announcement. They're also curious about the offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. Vivian grabbed Marcus's arm, her perfect composure cracking. Baby, do something. Tell them they can't do this. Oh, Miss Laurent, James said, his smile predatory, enjoying her panic. You might want to distance yourself while you still can. Your modeling contract with Prestige Agency? Terminated an hour ago. Apparently, they don't appreciate models who engage in extramarital affairs with married clients. Bad for the brand image. Your line of credit with Chase? Closed due to suspicious activity. That apartment Marcus bought you in Tribeca? We own the building. You have 72 hours to vacate, and I'd suggest you comply. New York eviction laws can be brutal. Vivian's face crumbled, her beauty contorting into something ugly as reality crashed down. Without another word, she grabbed her Birkin bag and ran for the elevator, her heels clicking frantically against the floor, the sound of retreat and defeat. Marcus stood alone now, his empire crumbling around him in real time, the emperor suddenly naked and powerless. Why? He asked, his voice barely a whisper, all his earlier arrogance stripped away. Why go to all this trouble? All this for her? All this for our sister, Alexander corrected, his voice hard as steel. The woman you vowed to love and honor, the woman carrying your child, who you publicly humiliated and physically endangered through your mistress's actions. You had everything, Marcus. A woman who loved you genuinely, who would have stood by you through anything. And you threw it away for what? Ego? A younger woman's flattery? The thrill of cruelty? We could destroy you completely, Daniel said, his tone matter-of-fact. We could make sure you never work again in any industry. We could ensure you never show your face in society without people whispering about what you did. We have the resources, the connections, and frankly, the motivation. But we're not monsters. We're businessmen, James finished. So here's the deal, and it's non-negotiable. You sign the divorce papers our lawyers have prepared. Clean, simple, no fault. You give Sophia full custody of the child with supervised visitation rights if and when you choose to exercise them. You provide child support based on your actual assets, not the inflated numbers you've been hiding from the IRS. That amount will be determined by the court, but I promise it will be fair. And you never ever contact our sister again unless it's through lawyers regarding your child. And if I refuse? Marcus asked, though his voice had lost all its earlier arrogance. He already knew he was beaten. Alexander stepped so close to Marcus that they were nose to nose, and despite being roughly the same height, Alexander seemed to tower over him through sheer presence alone. Then we released the security footage from tonight to every media outlet in the country. CNN, Fox, MSNBC, every major network. We show the world exactly what kind of man you are, how you treated your pregnant wife. We reveal every affair, every shady business deal, every lie. We make sure your name becomes synonymous with failure and cruelty. Your son will grow up seeing his father's true face plastered across every screen, reading articles about what a piece of garbage you were. Is that what you want for him? For your legacy? He paused, letting the words sink in like poison. Or you do the right thing, for once in your miserable life. You let Sophia go with dignity and tact. You support your child financially. You fade into obscurity, rebuild your life somewhere else. Maybe become a better person. And maybe, just maybe, we let you keep enough assets to live comfortably. Not lavishly, but comfortably. You get to start over. That's more than you deserve, but we're offering it anyway. Marcus looked at Sophia, really looked at her for the first time in months. She saw the moment he realized he had lost everything that mattered, that his choices had consequences he couldn't buy or charm his way out of. Fine, he said, his voice hollow. I'll sign whatever you want. Just let me leave with some shred of dignity. Daniel pulled out a folder from his briefcase, papers already prepared with impressive efficiency. A pen appeared in his hand like magic, expensive and heavy. Marcus signed without reading, his hands shaking with either rage or fear. When he was done, he walked to the elevator without a word. without looking back, without acknowledging Sophia one final time. The doors closed on his retreating figure, and Sophia realized with strange clarity that she might never see him again outside of custody arrangements and legal proceedings. The silence that followed was deafening, thick with unspoken emotion. Sophia sat on the sofa, surrounded by three strangers who claimed to be her brothers, her entire life fractured and reformed in the span of 30 minutes. Everything she thought she knew about herself, her past, her future, had just been rewritten. "I don't understand," she said finally, her voice small. "How did you become so successful? How did you find each other? How is any of this possible?" Alexander guided her gently back to the sofa, his touch careful, as if she might break. James disappeared into the kitchen and returned with water, crackers, and fruit, things safe for pregnancy. After we were separated, each of us fought our way through the system. Alexander began, settling into a chair across from her, his posture open, inviting trust. "I was 16 when they took you. I ended up with a foster family in Connecticut who owned a small investment firm. They were good people, the Hendersons. They saw potential in me, taught me everything about finance, about building wealth. When I turned 18, I took what little money I had saved from summer jobs and started investing. I got lucky a few times, caught the tech boom early, then got smart. By 25, I had my first million. By 30, I had my first billion." Daniel continued the story, his voice carrying the rhythm of something he'd told before, perhaps to himself during dark moments. "I was 14, already good with computers. My foster home was terrible, abusive. I won't go into details, but I spent all my time at the library, teaching myself to code, living in books and screens. I built my first app at 17, a simple game that somehow went viral. Sold it for $200,000. Used that money to put myself through MIT on scholarship. Started my first tech company at 23, sold it at 27 for $800 million. And I was 12, James said, his voice rougher than his brother's, carrying old pain. Big for my age, angry at the world, didn't know how to process what happened to our parents. I ended up in juvenile detention after defending myself against an abusive foster father who thought he could use me as a punching bag. In juvie, I met a boxing coach named Ray Santos, who saw something in me, saw past the anger. He helped me channel that rage into something productive. When I got out, I turned professional, made enough money fighting to invest in real estate, built an empire buying distressed properties and flipping them, giving other people second chances at homes. When I was 30, Alexander said, his voice thick with emotion, I hired a private investigator to find my brothers. It took 2 years and cost me a fortune. But we reunited. The day we found each other was the second best day of my life. We combined our resources, our companies, our networks. Together we became unstoppable. And then we started looking for you. That search took another decade. You'd been adopted briefly, then returned to foster care, moved between states, changed names twice. The trail was deliberately obscured by bureaucratic incompetence and lost records. Sophia wiped her eyes, mascara probably running, not caring. Why didn't you approach me sooner? Why wait 3 years? Why watch me suffer? We wanted to, Daniel said softly, genuine regret in his voice. God, we wanted to. But you looked happy in those first few months. We saw the wedding photos, saw you smiling genuinely. We thought maybe you'd found the family we couldn't give you. We told ourselves we couldn't disrupt that we'd be selfish to insert ourselves into your happiness. We told ourselves we'd wait a year, James added, his jaw tight. See how things develop naturally. When the first signs of trouble appeared, when we saw him taking calls from other women, we convinced ourselves it was normal marriage issues, that we were being overprotective. We didn't want to disrupt your life based on our fears and our inability to trust men around you. Alexander's voice hardened. But when you got pregnant, and he started treating you worse, when we saw him systematically isolating you from the few friends you had, when we watched your light dim month by month, we knew we had failed you. We had waited too long, been too cautious, too afraid of making the wrong move. Tonight was the final straw. When we saw that woman deliberately hurt you, watched him stand there and let it happen, we moved. We should have moved sooner, and we'll regret that hesitation for the rest of our lives. Sophia placed her hand over her belly, feeling her son move beneath her palm, strong and insistent. I don't know what to say. Thank you doesn't seem adequate for giving me my life back, for giving me you. You don't need to say anything, Alexander said, his stern face softening. You're our sister. You always were, even when we couldn't find you. We lost you once through circumstances beyond our control. We won't lose you again. That's a promise we're making to you and to ourselves. What happens now? Sophia asked, feeling overwhelmed by possibilities that stretched before her like an open road after years of narrow corridors. Daniel pulled out another folder, organized and thorough. Now you have choices, real choices. We've set up a trust fund for you and your son. $50 million, untouchable by anyone else, managed by a team of fiduciaries with your best interests as their only directive. The principal grows, you can't touch it, but the income is yours to use however you want. We've also purchased a house in your name, wherever you want to live. California sunshine, New York energy, here in Chicago, Boston near the best hospitals, or somewhere completely new. Your choice entirely. No pressure, no timeline. We know you wanted to go to medical school, James said gently. That dream doesn't have to die. You're 28. You have decades ahead of you. We can arrange for childcare, tutors, whatever you need. You gave up your dreams for that waste of oxygen. We want to help you reclaim them, fund them, make them possible. Harvard, Johns Hopkins, Stanford, wherever you want to go, we'll make it happen. Or if you want to do something else entirely, that's fine too, Alexander added quickly. Take time, heal, raise your son, travel, write, paint, start a business. Whatever you need, whatever you want, we're here. No judgment, no expectations, no strings attached. This isn't about us trying to control you or make up for lost time. This is about giving you the freedom to become whoever you want to be. Sophia felt overwhelmed by the possibilities opening before her, like flowers after rain. 3 years of feeling trapped, controlled, diminished, and suddenly the world was full of opportunities again, vast and terrifying and beautiful. I want to meet you, she said, her voice stronger now. Really meet you. I want to know everything about you, about our parents, about what they were like, what they dreamed for us. I want to know what I was like as a baby, what my first word was, what made them laugh. I want to know my family, my history, who I really am beneath all the survival mechanisms I built. Alexander's stern face softened into a smile that transformed him, made him look younger, more vulnerable. We have photo albums, videos our parents took, everything we could salvage from the accident and from relatives who've since passed. Mom was meticulous about documenting everything. Dad loved filming us. We've been waiting to share them with you, hoping for this moment for 10 years. We also, Daniel said with a grin that made him look boyish, have extremely embarrassing stories about each other's teenage years that we've been saving for the right moment. Fair warning, we're going to tell you everything, and we're going to enjoy watching you laugh at our expense. James laughed, a sound of pure joy. Speak for yourself. I was a perfect angel who never did anything wrong ever. You were arrested twice before you turned 15, Daniel shot back, enjoying the banter, the ease of brotherhood. Falsely arrested, James corrected with mock dignity. Big difference. One was for defending a smaller kid from bullies. The other was for trespassing when I was sleeping in an abandoned building because my foster home was worse. Both times I was in the right. You also, Alexander added with a rare grin, set fire to your high school gym accidentally while trying to impress a girl with your lighter tricks. That was never proven, James protested, but he was smiling. Watching them banter, the easy affection between them despite years of separation and individual trauma, Sophia felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Hope, and beneath that, something even more powerful, belonging. She had spent her entire life searching for this feeling, not knowing what it was called, only knowing its absence left an ache nothing else could fill. The baby kicked again, harder this time, a strong flutter that made Sophia gasp slightly. He's active tonight, Sophia said, her hand moving in circles over her belly, feeling the distinct shape of a tiny foot. He? Alexander asked, leaning forward with sudden intensity, his eyes brightening. I found out last week at my ultrasound. I haven't told anyone. Marcus never asked, never came to a single appointment, never wanted to know. Do you have a name picked out? James asked gently, his voice full of something tender. Sophia hesitated. She had been thinking about this for weeks, alone with her thoughts in that cold penthouse, planning a future she wasn't sure would ever arrive. I wanted to name him after our father, if that's okay with you. I know I never knew him, but I thought maybe it would be a way to honor him, to keep that connection alive, to tell my son about the grandfather he'll never meet, but who loved him before he was born. Alexander's eyes glistened with unshed tears, and for the first time that evening, his composure cracked completely. Dad's name was Christopher Michael Chen. We called him Chris. He was kind and funny and taught us that strength means protecting those weaker than you, that real power comes from lifting others up. He would be honored beyond words, beyond measure. He would have loved you so much, Sophia. He would have been so proud of the woman you've become. Christopher Chen Ashford, then, Sophia said, testing the name on her tongue, liking how it sounded. Chris for short. He'll know about his grandfather, about his uncles who never gave up, about a family that fought to find each other across decades and distance. The kid's going to be a heartbreaker with that name and those genes, Daniel said, his voice thick with emotion he wasn't bothering to hide. The evening stretched on, time losing meaning as they talked. Her brothers ordered food from 5 different restaurants because they couldn't agree on cuisine and wanted Sophia to have options, to choose what her pregnancy cravings demanded: Thai, Italian, Chinese, American comfort food, and a dessert place that specialized in pregnancy cravings. They argued playfully about everything from sports teams to investment strategies to which superhero would win in a fight. The kind of easy bickering that spoke of deep affection and years of rebuilding trust. They showed her photos on their phones, videos of their reunion 5 years ago, all 3 of them crying as they embraced in an airport terminal after decades apart. Pictures of the baby sister they had lost and never forgotten. Images they had carried through foster homes and dark nights and moments of despair. Sophia saw her parents for the first time. Her mother, Li Mei Chen, had her eyes, her smile, her stubborn chin, her delicate bone structure. Her father, Christopher Chen, had given her his determined expression, his sense of justice that demanded fairness even when the world wasn't fair, his protective instincts. In one video, barely 10 seconds long and badly degraded by time and transfers between formats, she saw herself as a 6-month-old baby, laughing as teenage Alexander made funny faces at the camera, her tiny hands reaching for him, her face lit with pure joy. "We never gave up on you," Alexander said, watching her watch the video for the 3rd time, memorizing her parents' faces, the sound of her own baby laughter. There were years when the trail went cold completely, when every lead turned into a dead end, when we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars chasing ghosts. There were moments when we thought we'd never find you, that you'd been lost forever to adoption, or name changes, or simple bureaucratic incompetence. But we kept looking. We had to. You were out there somewhere, and that meant we couldn't stop, wouldn't stop. Around midnight, Sophia's exhaustion caught up with her completely. The emotional roller coaster of the evening, combined with pregnancy and the late hour, had drained her reserves. Her eyelids felt heavy, her thoughts beginning to blur at the edges. "You should rest," James said, noticing her drooping eyes immediately, his protective instincts kicking in. "We have a hotel suite booked at the 4 Seasons nearby, the entire top floor. Or if you're comfortable here tonight, we can stay. We won't leave you alone if you don't want us to. Your choice, always your choice." Sophia looked around the penthouse. Marcus's domain, filled with his choices and his coldness and his betrayals. Every corner held a bad memory now. Every piece of furniture a reminder of arguments and humiliations. "I don't want to stay here another minute. Can we go to the hotel? I don't want to spend another night in this place. I don't want my son to spend another night here." "Already called the car," Daniel said, checking his phone with efficient movements. "It's downstairs waiting. We can pack up your essentials tomorrow." or hire people to do it. You never have to set foot in this place again if you don't want to. They rode down the elevator together, Sophia flanked by her three brothers like a precious thing they feared losing again. The car was a luxury SUV with plenty of room, comfortable leather seats, climate control. Alexander sat beside her in the back while Daniel drove, and James took the passenger seat, all of them wanting to stay close, to maintain physical proximity after decades of separation. The city lights blurred past the windows. Chicago at night, beautiful and alive despite the rain. The storm continued to fall, washing the streets clean, washing away the old life to make room for the new. Sophia watched the water stream down the windows and felt like she was being cleansed too, baptized into a new existence. "What about my things?" Sophia asked suddenly, thinking practically despite her exhaustion. "My clothes, my books, the nursery I set up for the baby, the rocking chair my foster mother left me, the only thing I have from her." "We'll have everything packed and moved tomorrow," Alexander said, his voice firm and reassuring. "Professional movers, people we trust, careful with everything. You never have to go back there if you don't want to. We can handle all of it, every detail." "There's a stuffed elephant," Sophia said, remembering the moment she bought it, the hope she felt that day. "Blue body with gray ears. I bought it the day I found out I was pregnant. The day I thought everything might be okay. It's in the nursery on the rocking chair. I need that. It's important." James turned around in his seat, his expression serious, making a promise. "I'll get it myself first thing tomorrow morning personally. I promise you'll have it by noon. Nothing that matters to you will be left behind. Nothing." At the hotel, they had reserved the entire top floor, an extravagance that Sophia would once have protested, but now felt grateful for. Privacy, space, security, but not isolation. Sophia's suite was in the middle, with her brother's rooms on either side like protective walls, like the family structure she'd never had. "We're not trying to crowd you," Daniel said quickly, reading her expression with the precision of someone used to analyzing situations. "We just wanted to be close if you needed anything. If you want more space, we can change the arrangements. This is about your comfort, not our needs." The suite was beautiful, all soft colors and comfortable furniture designed for luxury and comfort. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, the rain creating patterns against the glass. Someone had already stocked the mini-fridge with pregnancy-safe snacks and drinks, fresh fruit and cheese and sparkling water. Ginger ale for nausea. "We might have done some research about prenatal nutrition," James admitted sheepishly, rubbing the back of his neck in a gesture that was endearingly boyish. "Wanted to be prepared, make sure we knew what you might need. Daniel made spreadsheets. It was intense." "It was thorough," Daniel corrected. "There's a difference." Sophia laughed. Really laughed. For the first time in months. The sound felt foreign, unused muscles in her face moving in unfamiliar patterns. But good. So good. "You're all ridiculous and wonderful. And I can't believe you're real. That this isn't a dream I'm going to wake up from and find myself back in that penthouse alone." "We're real," Alexander said firmly, taking both her hands in his grip warm and solid. "And we're not going anywhere. Ever. You're stuck with us now. We're going to be those annoying brothers who show up unannounced and give unsolicited advice and spoil your son rotten. You've been warned." After they left her to rest, each brother hugging her carefully, promising to be right next door if she needed anything, even just to talk. Sophia stood by the window looking out at the Chicago skyline. The storm was clearing, clouds breaking apart to reveal stars. Her hand rested on her belly, feeling her son move beneath her touch, alive and strong and full of potential. "You're going to have 3 uncles who will spoil you rotten," she whispered to him, her voice full of wonder and gratitude. "You're going to grow up surrounded by love and protection and examples of what real men look like. Men who keep their promises, who fight for family, who never give up. And your mom is going back to school to become a doctor because that dream isn't dead, it was just sleeping, waiting for the right time. We're going to have the life we deserve, baby boy, the life we were always meant to have." She thought about Marcus, about the 3 years she had wasted trying to make a loveless marriage work. trying to be enough for someone who would never appreciate her, who saw her as a prop rather than a person. She felt pity for him, but no regret. That chapter was closed. The book moved to a new section, a better story. Tomorrow would bring lawyers and logistics, custody arrangements and moving plans, and 1,000 practical details. There would be challenges ahead, difficult conversations and hard decisions and moments of doubt. There would be mornings when she woke up and wondered if she was strong enough, if she could really do this. But tonight, for the first time since she could remember, Sophia wasn't alone. She had family, real family, brothers who had never stopped looking, who had moved heaven and earth to find her, who would stand beside her through whatever came next. She climbed into the impossibly soft hotel bed, her body sinking into comfort she'd forgotten existed. As she drifted towards sleep, her phone buzzed with 3 text messages, one from each brother. Alexander: "Sleep well, little sister. Tomorrow we start building your new life. Together." Daniel: "Doors unlocked if you need anything. I'm a light sleeper. We all are now." James: "Got the elephant mission scheduled for 8 a.m. sharp. Nothing gets left behind, especially not hope." Sophia smiled in the darkness, hugging her phone to her chest, and for the first time in 3 years, she slept without nightmares. The next morning arrived with pale sunlight filtering through the hotel curtains. The storm passed, leaving everything clean and new. Sophia woke slowly, momentarily disoriented, then remembered. Everything had changed. Her entire world had shifted on its axis. She found a note slipped under her door, written in 3 different handwritings on expensive hotel stationery. "Gone to retrieve your things in the Blue Elephant. Back by noon with breakfast and a plan. You're not getting rid of us that easily. We've waited too long. Your brothers." She smiled and tucked the note into her purse, a small treasure, proof that last night had been real. True to their word, her brothers returned at 11:30. James carrying the Blue Elephant like it was made of glass, Alexander with enough breakfast food to feed a small army, Daniel with a laptop and what looked like architectural plans. "We found a house," Daniel said, spreading the plans across the coffee table with barely contained excitement. "Boston, near the best hospitals and medical schools. Close to parks, good schools for when Chris is older. We close in 2 weeks if you want it. But only if you want it. We have backups in 5 other cities." Sophia looked at the plans, at the care they'd taken, at the future they were helping her build, and felt tears prick her eyes again. "It's perfect," she whispered. "You're all perfect. And I love you. I know that's fast, but I do. I love you." Alexander's voice was rough with emotion. "We loved you before we met you, Sophia. We've loved you for 28 years. We're just glad we finally get to show you." And in that moment, surrounded by her brothers, holding the elephant from her old life while planning her new one, Sophia understood something fundamental. Family wasn't just about blood or shared history. It was about showing up, about fighting for each other, about never giving up even when the world said it was hopeless. She had found her way home, and this time, home had found her back.